Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar, Innovate, Using Mobile Tech to Streamline Facility Operations. My name is Indira Farah from the ARC Facilities Marketing Department. Before I introduce our speaker, I want to let you know that we are going to be recording this webinar and we'll be sending a follow-up email to all registrants with the recording link so you can watch it on demand. Keep an eye out for that email from ARC Facilities in the next couple of days. Also, feel free to submit your questions throughout the webinar using the Q&A tab, and our speaker will address those at the end of today's session. So let me go ahead and introduce our speaker. Our speaker today is Jon Styrlund. He is the Vice President of Product Development and Field Operations. Jon joined ARC in 2001 and has managed the development of several of the company's technology solutions. Over the last 6 years, Jon has led the product development of ARC Facilities, a new category of software which uses AI and machine learning to allow facilities professionals to instantly access critical building information from any mobile device. So Jon, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to you.
Thank you very much, Indira, and good morning to everybody on the call and those of you listening to the recording later on. So this morning, I am going to go ahead and walk us through a few different things, but I know that we have some people on the webinar that are maybe new to ARC Facilities. And so the first thing I'm going to do is walk us through just a quick little review of what is ARC Facilities, what does it do? Then I want to get into some of the new features that we've released recently. And then I also want to talk about some interesting things that we came across in working with our customers, interesting ways that our customers are using the platform today that I thought might be worth sharing with the rest of you. You might find it useful in your own environment. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and start with just a brief overview, kind of what is ARC Facilities? You know, when we get up in the morning, what is it we're trying to do, right? Why do we get up in the morning and work on this? And really, if you take a look at that picture in the background there, you see that room filled with paper. You see the folders and files on the shared drive there. That is information about your building. And what we've found, over 80% of the buildings and owners that we talk to, we find that most of them have that information trapped really on paper in rooms like this, or like I said, on shared drives. And our belief is that in order for a facilities technician to really truly be able to do their job well, having that information where and when they need it is critical. So what is our vision? Our vision is to liberate that information. It's to get that information, get it into a platform in a place where your technicians can access it anytime, anywhere. And so we take all of that information, put it onto a mobile device, whether that's a phone or a tablet, get it out into the hands of those technicians. And we found that that really is one of the biggest bottlenecks for productivity in the built space, right? In the facility space. And so again, we want to make sure that technicians have that information at their fingertips. So at a glance, what does that look like? You know, that is your mobile phone. With just a few taps, you're able to access all of your as-builts, all of your architectural, your MEPs, every renovation. But in addition to that, we are able to layer in a ton of other information. That might be shut-off locations, that might be equipment, that might be emergency equipment. And again, all of that information available to you when and where you need it. Excuse me. That information may take a variety of forms. You know, this is a stadium that we work with. You can see thousands of pieces of emergency equipment here in this stadium. They have hundreds of pieces of mechanical equipment as well. And with just a few taps, they're able to zoom in, get down to a photo, to the details about that particular equipment, fill out inspection forms if they want to. Again, all of that information is available on their mobile device, whether that's an iPad or an iPhone or an Android tablet, an Android phone, whatever. And the benefit to that, right? Why is that important? Ultimately, we find that brings these what we think of as three key benefits to our customers. One of them is productivity. First off, if you've got that information in your hands, it's saving you time. So, you know, think about, especially for organizations that have, you know, a lot of real estate. You've got let's say a hospital or a school campus or a school district or a city, where, you know, the facilities room might be across town, it might be across campus, it might be a golf cart ride or a drive to get to that information. If we can put that information in the hands of a technician, that is in a tremendous amount of productivity gain for them. That's a lot of time back in their day. That's wrench time, not windshield time. And so again, the first and foremost, productivity is really what we see from that. But that rapid access, that instant access to information also has another benefit, and that is risk mitigation. So what do I mean by that? What I mean is if you're able to quickly and instantly find and turn a shutoff, you might prevent a water leak from becoming something worse, right? A water leak is just a bucket and mop to clean it up, unless it runs for a while. If it runs for a while, it could be millions or hundreds of thousands of dollars in building damage, right? The difference between a gas leak, that you can shut off instantly and one that goes for a while might be whether or not you have to clear out the building and shut down school for the day, or evacuate the hospital, or evacuate your government building, or whatever. So having instant access to that information is really critical to business continuity. Now, the third piece here, and this is one that we've really seen a big uptick in the past few years with things that have happened in the world. We're seeing a tremendous number of people retire out of the workforce or change jobs. The labor market, as I'm sure you know, is really, really challenging right now. And as a result, what we're seeing is people leaving an organization. Somebody retires and takes 30 years worth of knowledge with them. We want to provide a place for you to capture that knowledge. That knowledge should be in the custody of the organization. You want to have that information. And when you get it into a system like this, you're able to easily share it with everybody on the team instantly. And excuse me, that again, it's another protection to your business continuity. At the end of the day, you want to make sure your business stays operating. And so this is the last thing I want to talk about with regard to kind of a review of what is ARC Facilities. I'm not going to do a full demo of ARC Facilities. Instead, I want to get into some of the new things that we've added and the new features and then some of the new ways that people are using it. So this will be the last bit on kind of what are the basics for those of you who may already have that and be customers. But how does that information get into the platform is one of the questions we often get asked. Our solution is not just software. It is a whole package. It's software, it's people, it's back-end technology, it's cloud technology, it's the whole package. And so basically, the way that this works is when we start working with a customer, we collect all of that information from you, scan it, index it, upload it, feed it to our technology, right? We use that machine learning, use that artificial intelligence, extract the information, link the documents, develop all of those dashboards, put it all onto the mobile device, make it pinch, tap, and swipe easy, get all of that information in there. And while that's going on, we also have field teams that work with you. So not just to pick up those documents and get them organized and scanned and all of that, but we also have field teams that come out on site to do the photo capture, to do that on-site work, to help you, to locate all of those shutoff valves, to locate that emergency equipment or capital equipment, to field verify that, to put QR codes on it, and so forth. So all of that happens typically in 90 days. Most of our customers are up and running in about 90 days. And really, all of that happens without any burden on your staff, right? We do the vast majority of that. 95% of that work is from our team. We get your team involved at the very end, basically, to help us find a few of those, those things that are maybe not obvious, the hidden shutoff valves, that kind of thing. But then also, we get your team involved when it's time for training, and then we turn over that platform to you as kind of a turnkey solution. So that's kind of the end of my review for what is ARC Facilities. I wanted to give that kind of high-level overview for those of you who may not be familiar with the platform. And now I want to just dig into some of the new things that our team has really been busy this past 6 or 8 months, developing some new additions. And then I want to talk about how some of those are being used in the field today. So first off, we've recently released a couple of new modules. The first one I want to take a minute to talk about is our construction projects module. Now, this module was really developed for those of you who have a lot of active construction projects going on. So we see this a lot in hospitals, we see it in schools, we see it in big organizations that have a lot of buildings. You may have multiple 10, 20, 30 construction projects going on. And what we've seen in talking to our customers is that very often that information is siloed. Right? The GC has it, the construction team has it, the design development team has it, but the facilities team, the people who are going to have to operate that building, they don't get it until the very end. And so, the renovation gets completed, the new building gets completed, whatever, we get to commissioning, turn it over. All of a sudden, the facilities team is handed a set of keys to a building they know nothing about. And I think we all know that in most cases, the closeout package does not arrive on that day. right? In most cases, the closeout package may follow 3, 4, 5, 6 months later. And what that means is you've got a facilities team who's trying to operate a building they know very little about for 6 months before they get any of that information. At that point, they may already be starting the next renovations and not even have the as-built for the one that just completed. And so this module was really developed to solve that problem, to provide visibility for the facilities team. This is a platform, this is a module that is for the facilities team. And it provides visibility to that during the construction process. They'll see the documents as they come through. They'll see the RFIs. We do a discrepancy log to find mistakes in there. All of this is available alongside the rest of the information that's in ARC Facilities that they're using to manage their day-to-day stuff. And what's nice about that is with that visibility, your facilities team is able to see what's coming, right? At the same time, we're collecting all of that information, all that stuff that's going to end up in the closeout package. Our team is collecting that throughout the construction process. So when commissioning day shows up, when it comes time to turn those keys over, you on the facilities team, you already have the O&Ms, you already have the as-built drawings, you already have all of the documentation. You don't have to wait for that closeout package. You've got it. You can begin to take over that building and know something about it. That visibility also has the benefit of potentially heading off mistakes, right? Often construction mistakes happen because of a lack of communication. I visited a customer a couple of years ago. They were building a great big building to house a vacuum outside of a hospital, giant vacuum system. And I talked to the facility manager and he said, yeah, you see that building? The first thing we're going to do is cut a hole in the side of it. And the reason for that was the design construction team had not accounted for the fact that somebody has to change the filters in that giant vacuum and you can't squeeze them in the side. So that lack of communication resulted in, the facilities team having to, go and carve up a brand new building. So hopefully with some visibility, avoid mistakes like that or, those kinds of costly things. This is a monthly service. If it's something that's interesting to you, just reach out to your representative and we can talk to you about that. The next one is legacy documents. So this is another new module. This is the second of the 2 modules that we recently released. And I just want to share a little bit of information about this one. And then we're going to get into some of the new features that are available in all of your platforms. And so the legacy documents, this is a new module that really was developed because we kept getting asked by people, hey, you've got all of our as-built, you've got all of the O&Ms, you've got all of this good building information that we use to maintain our buildings every day, kind of operational information we're using every day. But what about this other stuff, right? We've got CAD files, we've got sketches, we've got contractor information, we've got a bunch of stuff. It's all building information, but I don't need it on a day-to-day basis, but I want to keep it. And I want to keep it alongside the rest of the information. Do you have a place for that? Well, we didn't. Now we do. And so that's really what the legacy documents module is. It's an online place where you can upload any of that other information. This is not the stuff necessarily you're using day-to-day to manage the building, but like I said, it could be CAD files, it could be contractor information, it could be anything like that. This is self-managed. You can put whatever you want to up there. It's simple, drag, drop, organized. It is all OCR'd. It is metadata searchable, and it has some really good sharing tools. So if you want to share among your team members, that kind of thing. So 24/7, 365, you got all of that information. It's up there side by side with the rest of the information that you use to manage your building. But again, it's separate, it's side by side with, but separate from the daily operational information. Again, it's just designed to give you a place to put all of that information. This is available through the web only. This is not available on the mobile devices because it's not really intended for field use. As those of you who use ARC Facilities know, we focus the mobile platform on technicians. It is designed to be used by and for technicians. So with that, I'm going to dig into some of the new things that we've added to the platform. We'll talk about that a little bit, and then I'll get to any questions that you might have. Over the winter here, we developed, in addition to those 2 modules, we added a few new additional features. So one of them was drag and drop upload. So being able to quickly and easily drag and drop files up into the platform. Now that sounds like a simple thing, but I'm going to show you we did that with a little more style than average and in a really useful way. I think you'll see. I'll walk you through that in a live demo here in just a moment. And along with that, we also we basically added in Microsoft Office file support. So for those of you who are using Microsoft Office files, that'd be Word, PowerPoint, Excel, any of those kinds of documents, you can now store them and use them from within ARC Facilities. If you are a Microsoft 365 customer, Inside of ARC Facilities, you can double tap that file. It'll open up into Microsoft 365. You can do your editing and it will save right back into ARC Facilities. And then lastly, we've done a lot of work with QR codes over the winter here. And QR codes are something we've had in our O&M documentation module since the beginning. We've had, as an easy access to the O&M documentation information, there's a QR code sticker that's on every piece of equipment that we touch. We put a QR code sticker on there. You or your field technician can scan that QR code and have a ton of information about that piece of equipment. But as we were doing those deployments and talking to more and more people, we kept getting questions about, hey, could I use this for other things? Could I use this for a conference room? Could I use this for a mechanical room? Could I use this for a place rather than necessarily a piece of equipment? And along with that, we started to get a lot of questions about, what about these fillable forms? We've got some forms in here that we use to log our maintenance. Could we use it for other things? Could we use it for a safety checklist? Could we use it for, a custodial checklist or whatever? And I'm going to walk you through some examples of that and how that can be used. And I think those dovetail really nicely together in a way that could be really, really beneficial to a lot of organizations. So I'm going to walk through those first, and then I'll pop out of the slideshow here, and I'll show you a live demo of the drag and drop, the Microsoft Office, and then I'll show you some interesting new ways that I've seen recently that people are using the platform. So let's take just a moment and dig into the PDF codes on the pins for a second. So this is a screenshot of a conference room pin on a mobile device. So here I'm looking on my iPad at the information for a particular conference room. Somebody's gone into this room, they've dropped an information pin in the room. They've taken photographs of all of the stuff that's in that room so you can see how the room is supposed to be set up, and associated with it, a bunch of files. So for instance, what are the setup procedures? What's the room information that's in there? And by room information, I mean, facilities type information, which light bulbs are in there, what's the floor tile color, what's the paint on the walls, that kind of stuff. Also, how to service the coffee machine that happens to be in that room apparently was useful for whoever put this one on there. You can also access information about the equipment that's in that room, which air handler controls the temperature in that room, what's the monitor. The IT department has put a couple of pieces of equipment in here as well, right? What's the monitor that's on the wall, or the conference call system that's in there. Now, what's interesting about this, and the reason that QR codes to pins can be helpful, is all of the information that's on the right-hand side of the screen here has been possible up until, up the whole time. That's just information that's connected to the pin. But previously, to get to it, you had to open the app, navigate to the map, find the pin on the map, open the pin, and then you had access to this information. What we've now done is connected QR codes to those pins. So now the team member can associate this QR code that you see in the lower left, the sticker, put it on the door jamb, put it just on the wall, up on the top of the door or the side of the door. And when your technician walks into that room, they can scan that QR code and instantly be taken to the screen. And they don't have to navigate their way through the app or anything else. There's no guessing. There's no trying to read a floor map. It's just scan the code and they're instantly looking at all of this information. So again, a time saver, very, very quick access to information related to that pin. Now, I'm sure you can probably think of a variety of other uses for that. A conference room is just a simple example, but you could use those QR codes in other places, in other ways. Basically, the QR code takes you to the pin. So however you're using those pins today, if you're locating stuff with those pins, you can use a QR code to access the information that is tied to that pin. Now, excuse me, that would include, and I'm sorry, I missed that last screenshot there. That would include, for instance, we do have a number of customers that are using those pins to associate forms to a room. So what's a good example of that? You might have an inspection form, right? We have a stadium that has been using our platform to inspect their suites prior to every event. And so they previously would open up a map, find the suite on the map, tap the pin, and then there'd be a form associated to that suite, fill it out. Has this room been catered? Has this room been safety checked? Has it been, custodial checked? Is it clean? Is it tidy? Are there enough paper towels and whatever else? Those things have been able to be filled out by accessing it through the pin. Now with this new addition, we'll be able to put a QR code sticker on the way into the room somewhere or somewhere in the room, and your custodian, your catering person, your technician, whoever can scan that code and instantly be taken to the pin that has all of this information on it. Now, related to that, we also tied QR codes to forms. So in my last example, you could scan that QR code and have it take you to the pin that has all of the information for the room. You could also have a separate QR code that takes you straight to the form. So in this case, we had a number of organizations ask us, hey, could we use this for some of our, kind of heavy equipment, right? In this case, I've got a loader crane, right? Before that technician starts moving plywood around, maybe there's a safety check that you want him to run through. You want him to check the hydraulics. You want him to check to make sure there's no damage to the vehicle. You want to make sure that he's, gone through the steps to make sure that vehicle is safe to operate. Put the QR code on the side of the piece of equipment. He can scan that and then fill in that fillable form on the left-hand side that you see. Answer the questions. Yes, I've checked the oil. Yes, it's full. No, there's no damage to it. Yes, it's safe to operate. Sign it and submit it. You've now got a log that technician or that operator checked that piece of equipment before they began using it for the day, and that goes into a permanent record there. You could use it for that. You could similarly also use it, as I talked about, for custodial, right? Maybe you want to have a log of all of the times that this washroom gets serviced. Are the paper towels full? Is it full of soap? And so on. Have your custodian scan the code, fill the form, press save. You've got who did it, when they did it, and a detailed log of what they did while they were in there. So there's a variety of ways that you can use those QR codes, whether you link it to a pin or whether you link it to a form. Either one can work for you. And those forms can all be logged. So the system will, of course, store them internal to the system, but we do also have an option where it can generate a PDF version of that file. That PDF file then can be stored in the platform or shared out to another location if that's necessary as well. Also, email notifications can go out. So every time somebody fills a form, if you want it to, the system can notify. And there is an approval workflow if that is desired. If you want to have a multi-step where somebody fills out a form and another person reviews it before it's considered approved, we have the ability to do that as well. So those are some of the new features that have been added. Like I said, I'm going to switch out of this slide deck here, and I want to show you the drag and drop functionality on the web, and I want to show you the Microsoft integration on the web. I'm going to walk you through that. And then again, I want to get into a couple of interesting things that we've seen recently, interesting ways people are using the platform that you may find helpful. So with that, let me go ahead and switch over here. I'm going to exit out of this PowerPoint mode. I'm going to try to exit out of this PowerPoint mode and get to my screen. So, all right. So now I am looking at ARC Facilities. I'm here. I'm logged into ARC Facilities on the web. And I'm going to go ahead and show this drag and drop functionality to you in the legacy module. Now, it does work in the folders and files module as well. It also works in the compliance module if you're a healthcare organization that has our healthcare compliance module. But I'm going to show it to you here in the legacy module. And here in this module, what you can see is I've got a bunch of files in here already. I've got some CAD files, some construction photos, some looks like some as-built documents, and a couple of Microsoft files. And over here, I'm going to assume that, my contractor just sent me a couple of closeout packages. So you can see there's a folder structure here, right? There's a closeout package. There's the East Tower. Underneath it, I've got some as-builts. I've got a women's health expansion down here and a whole folder structure associated to that. Now, the reason I say that when we added drag and drop, we didn't just add drag and drop, we did it with a little more style. And that is because I now have the ability to just drag that entire folder structure in. And so rather than having to upload those one at a time or one folder at a time, I was able to just drag that in. You can see it's here in the platform now. The whole folder structure is there. All of the files are there. You can see they're rendering through. And so in just a few seconds, I'm able to just super easily click and drag that up into the platform. So that much easier to, excuse me, to get information into the platform rather than back in the old days, having to do it, more as a group of files or create folders manually and so forth. So very, very simple to get that information in. Now, once that information is in, again, you may have Microsoft files, and I wanted to just show you very quickly what does that look like. Here I've got a couple of files. I've got an Excel file and I've got a Word file. And if I simply double click those, now I am a Microsoft 365 customer. And as a result, you'll see that this is going to open up automatically into Microsoft 365. If I click edit, I can go in and I can make changes to this document. And then when I close it out, it's going to save it back into Arc Facilities. So no more downloading, changing it, and then uploading the new version. I can simply open and edit it from within the platform here. And as I said, I can do that for Word files. I can do that for Excel files. I can do that for PowerPoint files. So really simple, easy access to the platform for that information. And to be able to edit those Microsoft files for those of you who are Microsoft 365 customers, which, as I understand it, is quite a lot of people. So those are the new features that I wanted to talk about. And then just before I wrap up and open it up to questions here, I want to walk through some interesting things that I've seen our customers using the platform for recently that I thought might be interesting and beneficial for you. And so I'm going to go ahead and jump into a folder I've got in here called Other Maps and Resources. And here under my Other Maps and Resources, I've got a few things I want to walk you through. Now, you heard me talk about the custodial forms, for instance, and here you can see I've actually mocked that up, right? I've got a number of washrooms on the floor of this hospital, and each one of them I've dropped in a pin, and on that pin, then I have the ability to fill out that form. I've got a form that is connected to it, and anybody that wants to fill it out can click on it. Now, obviously, I'm showing this to you on the web. I wouldn't expect anybody to do this on the web. This is something you would do on the mobile device, and it works just as easily, in fact, easier on the mobile device than I'm showing it here. But I wanted to just quickly show you an example of, you basically, mark out your washrooms on the floor plan, drop those pins in, connect the forms, and now you have a form that is associated to every one of those washrooms. Now, but some other things that I thought were really, really interesting. We recently, working with one of the schools that we work with, we had somebody who actually went in and mapped out a bunch of things that were not in the buildings, but instead were between the buildings and on the campus. So all of the storm drains, all of the electrical poles, all of the sprinklers, all of that kind of stuff. So now I've mocked that up on a golf course here rather than on a school, because I wanted to show a little bit of flexibility. But you can see here, I've got my golf course map. I've got my clubhouse up here. I've got some storm drains around the clubhouse that I've marked out on this map. Now, I don't have them here, but I could easily attach photos of that. So maybe you've got a storm drain that's behind trees or buried under bushes or something like that that's hard to see. You could include photographs to make that easier for people to find. We've had a tremendous amount of rain here in California over the past few weeks, and I know we've got organizations all over the state that are scrambling to make sure that those drains stay clean so we don't have a lot of flooding. In fact, a local city here started an adopt a drain program so the local residents could keep their own drains clean to keep the streets from flooding. So keeping track of that can be, we know here, very, very important to the business continuity of your organization, right? If you can keep those clean, you're not dealing with flooding. You can see I've also mapped out in this example all of the sprinkler heads here on the golf course. Now, obviously, I didn't do all of them, but many of them, and I could simply add in additional ones as I locate them, or maybe electrical pull boxes, and it's as simple as dropping a pin, selecting the icon that I want to use from any of the hundreds that we have in here, or creating a custom icon for whatever it is you want to keep track of. So the reason I wanted to show this is a lot of our customers, at first, they tend to think of our platform as something they need to use for stuff inside the building rather than things between the building. And what I really liked about this, what this customer had done is they really, thinking outside the box, they said, hey, there's no reason I can't put an entire map in here and map out my entire campus. I know he's got hundreds of pins on there to keep track of all of that stuff that is, like I said, between the buildings and equally critical to their operation. As it happens, that same customer customer uses the system to track all of the rooms inside the school. In the same way I showed that library on my slides earlier, he's using that to keep track of all of the classrooms and what's in them, what they should look like, how they're organized, what the paint colors are, the floor tile colors, all of that kind of information, what the light bulbs are, all that can be there as well. And if I look at that same pin here that I showed previously, I've got that under room inspections. You can see here's that same conference room and all of that information. Like I said, we can then also connect the room information to it, so you can see what is the the paint color, the light bulb, and so forth. Another organization that we worked with recently started asking us about using this for their hospital, and they asked us about starting to use this for rounds. Hospitals have to stay in compliance. They're always checking for, is the pressure gap correct? Is the between these doors, is this, is there dirt on the sprinkler head? Is there a ceiling tile that's stained, or there's a gap, or whatever? They have a lot of things that they have to keep track of. And so they do what they call rounds. The facilities team does them, not just, doctors do rounds with their patients, but the facilities team does rounds in the hospital looking for those kinds of things. And that's what I've mocked up here, because I wanted to show an example of that. Now, I used a hazard pin. You could use whatever you want. You could use a custom pin if you wanted to do a pin for dirty sprinkler heads, or you wanted to do a pin for pressure gaps. You could do that. I just simply used a hazard pin, and then I put in the description what the issue was that I had identified. So here in this patient room, the pressure is wrong, right? There's a pressure differentiation between the room and the hallway that's not correct. That needs to be adjusted. There's a pull cord in this washroom that is that's dangling. There's a ceiling tile gap here. And so you can see, as I look around, I can see what the things are that need to be addressed, that were found during the rounds that the technician did. Now, I'm showing this here on the web just simply to save the hassle of switching back and forth between the iPad and the web and the phone and all of that here on this webinar. But obviously, this is stuff that your technician could do while they are walking the building, right there on their mobile phone or right there on their iPad. So I wanted to walk through a few examples like that because I thought it was really interesting. I thought it was a clever way to use the platform. I do want to just be clear, these are interesting and fun ways to use the platform that can be beneficial for you. But we are not, there's not a ticketing system associated with this. We're not a CMMS. We're not any of those other platforms. We're not trying to encroach on that territory. This is really, if it's useful for you. I love the creativity and the way that the platform was used. If you get another system, great, use that. If you don't, this might be a really good fit for you. You may have a different instance that you can come up with. There might be something, here I've got a customer, for instance, that keeps track of all of the artwork around their campus. Right? They have a pretty extensive artwork collection. And so they used our platform to keep track of that. And so, really what I was trying to do in showing this was to get your imagination going about interesting ways that the platform might be able to benefit you and drive efficiency in your organization. And so, excuse me, with that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the demo portion of this. And, excuse me. And stop and turn it over to Indira and see if we have any questions that we want to cover.
Jon, thank you. Yes, we actually have a lot of questions. So if we don't get to all of them, we'll reach out to you individually, just so the attendees know. So let me get started here. First question, Jon, can the local users edit the info on the drawings? For example, can the user change the location of a gas shutoff valve?
Yes, absolutely. The system is designed to be used by the technicians out in the field. So the answer to that is yes, but also yes, they can move that, they can adjust it, they can add a new one, they can remove one if one was removed. That is the point of the system, is for the facilities technicians to be able to maintain the information about the building. There are some access restrictions and privileges that can be assigned in the platform as well, because you don't necessarily want everybody making all kinds of changes in the platform. So we do have that as well. But the system is designed for technicians to be able to add, edit, and change information in it. We want the system to reflect the most current state of the building.
Okay, thank you, Jon. Another question here. It's two parts, Jon, so just let me know if you want me to repeat. We have more than 30 construction projects going on right now. So is the cost for the module by project, or how does that work? And then that second part is, is there a limit to the number of projects that the system can have?
Okay, good question. So there is no, let me go backwards on those. So there is no limit. You can put as many construction projects in there as you want. And the way that the pricing works for that is it's twofold. It depends on whether those projects are happening inside the walls of a building that's already in ARC facilities, or whether those are new constructions. And so because the ARC facilities platform is square footage based, anything that's happening inside the square footage has a slightly different pricing model than the stuff that would be a new building, for instance. And that's the kind of thing that, reach out to our customer success team if you're an existing customer, or our sales team if you're not, and we can kind of talk to you about the details of that. But it's pretty straightforward. It's a very simple program. Basically, for a new building, there's a monthly fee associated with it during the life of construction of that new building. And if it's internal, if it's renovation projects, if it's smaller stuff, it's kind of a bundled price. It's there's a monthly service fee, but it includes a variety of projects. It includes a certain number of projects that we'll keep track of for you. I think I got that. Did I answer that?
Yes, you did. Thank you, John. Next question here is, does this app work on both the Android and the iOS? And is it a user-friendly app?
Okay, well, I'm biased, but I would say absolutely.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. It is, we work very, very hard to make it super easy to use. That is absolutely critical to our platform. We believe very strongly that if it's not simple, people won't use it. And so from a usability standpoint, yes, I believe it is very, very easy to use, and happy to walk anybody through that. There's also a variety of videos and so forth you can see up on our site about that. Is it available on the multiple platforms? Yes, we do. We support all of the major web browsers if you're on a computer, but most importantly, the aspect of that question, the mobile side, right? We are heavily mobilely focused. And so, yes, absolutely. We support iOS and Android fully. Any reasonably late model, iOS or Android device should have no issues running the platform. We try very hard not to create, barriers to people using it. So even a device that's, a couple of years old is likely to be able to operate the system pretty easily.
Okay, thanks, John. Next question. Are QR codes compatible with SAP? Our work orders, PMs are managed through SAP, and I'd like to find a simpler interface for my team like yours.
Okay, so the QR codes are just that technology itself. Basically, what a QR code does is it takes a user to a place. And so you can't have a QR code that takes you to multiple places, but what we are able to do, and we see this a lot of companies are using QR code stickers today on equipment. It's not uncommon for us to go out to a piece of equipment and see 2 or 3 stickers with QR codes on there. What we would do is we would add our QR code sticker to the equipment or the conference room or whatever it is, wherever you're using it. When you scan that, it will take it into take the user into our platform. If you need to go from there into, let's say, a CMMS system, your SAP system, whatever, we actually have the ability to link to that platform from within hours. We can actually include a link that says, basically jump to SAP. And so you'd scan the QR code, it would take you to the piece of equipment in our system. Hopefully the information you need is there. If it's not, there's a link that just says view this in SAP. You'd tap that and it would jump you over to the other platform. And that works with any modern cloud-based platform, any platform that can provide a link, basically. Any platform where they can provide us an inbound link, we can include that in our system.
Okay, here's a follow-up question for QR codes. If we already have QR codes on our equipment, can your system use those, or do we need new codes? And if we need new codes, how do we get the stickers?
Okay, so the codes that are unique to the system. So for QR codes for our system need to come from us. Like I said, because of the way the technology works, if you scan a QR code, it's going to take you to the place that QR code was linked to. So somebody else's QR code is going to take you to their stuff. Our QR codes will take us to our stuff. And then, like I said, you can link from in our platform out to other platforms, but ours will take us to our stuff. And in terms of how do you get the codes, we provide them. You ask our technician or our team for them, and they will provide stickers to all of our customers.
Thanks, John. The next question I have here is, can the user create their own custom pins, or is that strictly done by you?
No, absolutely. The user can create their own pins, please. That is the goal of the webinar today, and many of our customer success training sessions and so forth. We want users to create their own pins, please. That's how new and interesting things happen. That's how new and interesting ways for the platform to get used get developed. Users can absolutely create their pins. They can create custom pins. There's a lot of flexibility in the way that they can use the platform, and that's what I was trying to show today, was just some of the interesting stuff I've come across in talking to our customers or through our customer success team. As we talk to them, we learn about interesting ways they are using it. And I want to share that with you. So you absolutely can create your own pins, your own custom pins. You can move them around. You can do lots of stuff with them.
Okay, another QR question. Can we update our Can we update our current QR codes that we received from ARC, or do we need new ones?
So the ones that you have will continue to work for any equipment that they are on. Previously, before this release, the QR codes were designed for equipment. If you are looking to use, and you can keep using those, if you have those stickers, you can keep using them for equipment. If you want to use them for other things, for the pins or the forms, as I showed, we will actually be issuing a slightly different QR code. The old ones will always be compatible with equipment. They'll continue to work, but if you wanted to use this tomorrow for a pin or for a form, I would need to send you some new stickers for those. There's a slight addressing change that caused that. So the stickers will look the same, but the new ones will work for everything, and the old ones will continue to work for equipment, but they're not able to work for the other for pins or for forms just yet.
Okay, John, the next question I have here is the 90-day implementation for any size company?
It is for most companies. We are a pretty big organization. We have a lot of resources to draw on. Only in the more extreme cases, maybe a university campus or a network of hospitals or something like that, would we typically fall outside of that. For almost all of our customers, we're usually able to get it done. 90 days, we call it a target, but we hit it for pretty much everybody. If you show up with a 7 million square foot college campus, I may ask for a few more days, but it'll still be very, very fast. We fortunately have a lot of resources we can draw on to get those implementations done very, very quickly. It's also not necessarily it's not a 0 to 100 kind of thing, meaning it's not we flip a switch and it magically all shows up for you. As buildings are added to the platform, we can turn them on for you. So even in one of those very large situations, we could begin to give you access to the buildings as we get them into the platform. So as the information is there, we can begin to share it. So it's not necessarily that you would be going for 90 days or so with nothing, and then suddenly magically everything is there. We could work with you to make it so that your highest priority buildings get done earlier, and then we work our way through your portfolio. But most implementations are done in 90 days.